Welcome to Robthemany's Broken Thoughts. This is your UFC Chicago recap. I am your host, Robthemany. Do me a favor, if you like this video, click the subscribe button, like it, favorite, share it, spread the word. Word of mouth is the best form of PR that I can get. So if you like the show, make sure you share it to your friends so that they come and subscribe. Let's get right to it. We're going to start with the main card. There'll be a separate video for the prelims. But for the main card, we're going to start off right at the top with the main event tonight. Dillashaw coming in as champion versus number one contender, Renan Barao. They faced off before. Dillashaw got the better of Barao. We were going to find out tonight whether that was a fluke or whether something about DJ presented a problem for an almost 10-year champ at bantamweight. So right off the bat, TJ came out in a southpaw stance, which Rogan said is very unusual for him, and something about that stance change must have thrown off Barao, because I mean he just ate straights pretty much the entire fight, and even weirder yet, it wasn't too long into the fight where Barao already looked gassed. It looked like he had no cardio to really left to give. First round was really clearly TJ's. I mean, he just outstriked Barao early and often. I mean, just was slipping punches in left and right. Barao was responding a little bit, but not getting the better of the two. I would say, it felt like every third punch TJ hit and landed really shook Barao, where Barao was hitting TJ and TJ was just shrugging it off. So that was kind of surprising. I kind of thought maybe, with the long title reign and stuff like that, Barao would come in and kind of prove, that he was a great champion and he was going to figure something out to really present a problem to TJ. It was the opposite way around, where TJ knew what Barao would bring and threw him a curveball that I guess Barao wasn't ready for. But to be honest, if you ask me, it felt like Barao's cardio wasn't quite where it needed to be. Round two, there was a brief takedown by Barao, but later in the broadcast, Rogan and Goldberg said he didn't have an official takedown. So I don't know if this counts or not, but I mean, regardless if it counts or not, he did take him down. TJ got up pretty much right away, so maybe that's why it doesn't count. I don't know. I still feel if you take somebody down, even for half a second, it's still considered a takedown. I felt like because of the takedown, they were pretty much even on strikes. That maybe perhaps, given tonight's judges, that might be enough to win Barao the round, just because it was the one real big thing to happen in the round. Round three, TJ. I mean, all day. I mean, just at this point, it seemed like Barao was, whatever gas was left was gone, and he was taking big, deep, heavy breaths, and TJ was, I mean, punishing this man. By the end of round three, it looked like TJ had him on the ropes. Barao looked really, really wobbly on legs, and it looked like he was, frankly, saved by the bell. That would be proven to be right. They would go right out at round four. TJ would come out and just rock Barao for like 20 straight punches, 35 seconds into round four, and stop the fight. I mean, he just landed one real big punch to Barao, pushed him up against the cage. Most of the time, TJ was pushing Barao out from the center of the octagon into the cage and just, I mean, whooping him. And he did hit here, and he just kept landing punch after punch that was just rocking Barao's world. And I mean, he was out on his feet. It looked like he was out on his feet a couple different times. But Herb Dean was a little shy on the trigger here, in my opinion, because earlier in the fight, which we'll get to, I felt like maybe he might have stopped the fight a little too early. So maybe I felt like he also got some criticism from other people on Twitter tonight under the hashtag UFC Chicago, that maybe he might have stopped that fight a little too early. So it kind of felt like he kind of let this one go a little bit more, hoping that, you know, to try to give TJ the opportunity to really close out the fight, which he did. I mean, there was a point where, Barao just stopped throwing punches back and just started eating punch after clean punch after clean punch after clean punch after clean punch. And it got to be, I think, at least 15 punches straight with no comeback, with no defense, with just eating it straight to the face. And at that point, Herb Dean did what he could only do at that point, and that's stop the fight. So still, your bantamweight champion is TJ Dillashaw. At this point, I really don't know where that puts Barao. A lot of they were talking in the post fights that he might move up in weight, but they couldn't agree on whether that would be a good idea or not. It's tough to say. I mean, he has already put almost 10 years into UFC. He could walk away. I mean, he had a long reign as champ. He ran into the one person that could solve his problems. It's up to him whether or not he thinks getting a couple other fights against a couple other people is the way he wants to go to continue to earn, or if he wants to take this opportunity to walk away. He could follow the St. Pierre route where he exits a little early. I think he's a little too young to do that, but you never know. Once somebody gets exposed like this, and he ate as much damage in these two fights, you kind of wonder if he really wants to keep doing it. Plus, I kind of question his lack of preparation here. But I would say the clear difference in this matchup was the southpaw stance for Dillashaw and the clinch. He used those two things to really differ from the first fight. And that was, he was just dominant. It wasn't even close. It was a battering. The only way you could really see anything for Barao is if you put a big emphasis on takedowns, which seemed like the judges tonight would point for a big thing more than overall striking or overall octagon dominance. Like if somebody bled, they seem to factor that in a lot. So that's why I felt like maybe it's possible that the judges could have gave round 2 to Barao. In the semi-main event, the number 2 contender in the women's bantamweight is Miesha Tate versus number 5 contender Jessica Eye. I came out strong. Her boxing looked really, really good. She was rocking Miesha Tate. Looked like Tate was in all sorts of trouble. But then it seemed like, as far as offense goes, Eye's boxing looked really good. But then it's kind of somewhere in the strikes, Tate noticed what I noticed, which was I was dropping her hands and keeping her chin up. And in the round 1, I dropped her left, was dropping her left and was keeping her chin up, and she went in for, a straight right, and Tate punched over top of it, caught her on the chin, and knocked her down. She didn't knock her out, but she knocked her down. And that was kind of the change of the fight. It looked like a lot of people on Twitter thought that the way I came out, looking so dominant, just catching Tate with clean punches, that maybe Tate was going to lose this fight. But then just that one punch pretty much changed the entire fight outlook here. From there, Tate rode out the rest of the first round on top. They went to round 2. And you know, again, same thing. You know, I kept dropping her hand, and it seemed to be mostly her left hand she dropped. You know, she'd be kind of like this, and Tate kept catching her, kept catching her, then knocked her down and finished her off, and won. You know, a decision. But still, I mean, even though they went 3 rounds, I mean, from that moment late, like towards the end of the first round on, for the other 2 rounds, I mean, it wasn't really that close. I mean, Tate pretty much had her way with I mean, at that point, Tate would, you know, basically just wait for her to drop her hands and, you know, just basically put all of her might into like a punch here or there. And when she wasn't doing that, she would just take her down at will and pretty much grind out whatever she could. And, you know, wasn't super impressive. I felt like this was more of a lack of experience from her opponent than Tate being a dominant contender. But, I mean, nonetheless, she's beaten everybody the UFC's putting in front of her. I guess she deserves another title shot. At this point, while I like Rousey more than I like Correia, I am now rooting for Correia just for a fresh matchup. I really have no interest in seeing a third matchup between Tate and Rousey. I was kind of surprised when I came out looking so good, but I mean, I've never seen somebody look so good boxing 1 minute and just like they forgot everything that they ever learned and have see such shitty defense. I mean, just can't drop your hands in MMA. Rogan's storyline out of this was that Tate showed more power. I disagree. I think it was more of, again, Tate capitalizing on somebody who was making some really bad mistakes. Pettis actually post-fight said the same thing pretty much. So did DC. So did Stan. Which I'm going to go ahead and take that as victory for me, because if fighters go ahead and say the same thing I said, that means I'm more informed than Rogan, so who for me. It was interesting, but again, I'm just not interested in seeing Tate Rousey. But if Rousey can win, that's what we're going to see. So I know a lot of Twitter people seem to be rooting for Correia. I guess people are just tired of Rousey. I don't know. But that was that. And, you know, the next fight was Edson Barboza versus Paul Felder. Edison came in ranked number 7th in his weight class. This was the best fight of the night. I would say the final 3 fights of the show were the best fights of the night. For a free event, I guess 3 good fights is enough, especially this fight. In my opinion, it was fight of the night, easily. Just 3 great solid rounds of superior striking from both gentlemen. Barboza and Felder were just throwing everything that they could think of at each other. I mean, they threw some backspin kicks, threw backspin elbows. I mean, if it was spinning and it was a strike, they threw it at each other. There was actually a few times where they actually went for the same spin strike at the same time, which was really unique. It kind of felt like these two almost were like in sync with each other. Like, as far as, like, you know, whatever the one was thinking, the other one was thinking too, and they would kind of try it at the same time, or, you know, one would land and then the other guy was like, well, yeah, I could do it better. I felt like, you know, there was the big thing coming out of this was, besides like the spinorama, as Twitter called it, was the backspin kick to the balls from Barboza to Felder's dick, basically. And it's on my Twitter at Robthemany. The videos on there. If you really, really feel like watching somebody basically get kicked in the dick as hard as possible. Somehow, some way, he continued. I mean, I don't know how. Barboza's big strength here was that his kicks were really, really landing, and they were landing hard. Where Felder was mostly punches, and while he was connecting and while he was, doing well, it just, the kicks were coming much harder than the punches. And over time, that seemed to be the difference. By the end of the fight, Felder had basically just a bruise underneath his arm for where he caught numerous kicks. He had a bruise on his legs, both of them. I mean, he was just all bruised up from kicks from Barboza. Barboza took round one, in my opinion. I felt like Felder. Some people felt like Felder took round one. Like, Twitter basically argued back and forth over the first round. Either way, I saw a lot of people going into round three with the scoring tied. So whoever felt like Barboza won round one felt like Felder won round two. Whoever felt like, Barboza won felt like Felder. You know what I mean? Like, either way, it's funny how like a bunch of different people saw the same fight, almost the exact opposite, but still came out in the same place. And we went into round three, and I think at this point everybody was just like really enjoying the fight and just interested to see if maybe these two could throw something so out of left field that they could maybe knock somebody out. It wasn't meant to be. It did go to scorecard, but I felt like Barboza just had just a little bit of enough to steal this fight from Felder. But I don't think he should hang his head by any means. It was a split decision. No, wait, I'm sorry. It was a 29-28 Barboza unanimous win. I do apologize. But that shows you how close. I mean, all judges pretty much saw it 29-28. And it was a really, 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 really close fight. I mean, I saw many people saying basically they could see it going either way, really. Either way, well, they would have completely been okay with it. It was by far the, if you recorded it and you didn't get a chance to watch it, probably the most worthy of a watch out of the fights. The kicker off of the main card was Joe Lanzon and versus, okay, I'm going to try to get this, Takanori Gomi? Did I get that right, YouTubers? Who knows? I gave it my best shot. I don't know what to tell you. Pretty much from the start, just Joe had came out, just rattled Gomi's face basically, and at one point got him, down, and in the exchange, just as Rogan was explaining, like Gomi's ground game isn't all that great, Joe pretty much got his back, managed to flatten him out, and basically rain down blow after blow after blow. And this is where it gets weird, okay? It's a ground and pound situation. Joe has Gomi's back, and he basically just, unrelenting punishment. And Joe just gets up. I mean, it feels like, like one or two punches look like maybe it might have knocked Gomi out. But her team didn't step in and stop it. Joe stood up on his own and walked away. And then it looked like maybe Herb was going to tell him to keep fighting. But then, like, Herb Dean thought better of it and ended the fight. It was the strangest ending to a fight I've ever seen in my life. I mean, basically, one fighter chose to basically stop punching the fuck out of the other fighter and ended the fight himself. And then, like, Rogan basically asked him, like, why did you stop? He's like, I told you going into this, I looked up to the guy I wasn't just gonna sit there and beat him to death. I felt like I gave him enough. He went out. I felt like that was enough, and I wasn't gonna hit him anymore. But then when it didn't look like Herb Dean was gonna stop it, I was like, oh, I better get back over there before he gets up. But then I didn't have to. It was strange. I mean, it was really weird, and I think that's why Dean didn't go in so quick the second time. I'm sorry. Like, it just was weird. It was really, really weird. I believe it was Herb Dean that was refereeing that fight. Uh, Dean had a bad day as far as like judging. A very, very bad day. There was a couple of times where he did something where I was just kind of like, you're usually okay where as far as judging, but tonight is not your night. So that was kind of the kicker off of like the main card. It was the exact opposite of everything on the prelims. I mean, it was a knockout, and it was a quick knockout, and it was over. Whereas the prelims were the exact opposite. I would say the story, the main card for UFC Chicago was this. The exact opposite of the prelims. Action, good, fights. We found out who was going to probably get the next women's bantamweight championship. We found out TJ Dillashaw is probably now in the top 5 pound for pound fighters in the UFC. If not, with a strong argument of being number 1, although I would give that to the Mighty Mouse. But still, I mean, him, TJ, Rousey, and Mighty Mouse have a really good argument for number 1, and they are probably in the top 3 in my opinion. You know, Barboza, Felder, fight of the night. I mean, just a fantastic strike-only battle. But unlike some of the early UFC fights, this wasn't like one of those barroom brawl type situations. It was precise, modern day MMA striking versus modern day striking. It just so happened that Barboza just got slight bit of advantage over Felder. Felder was a little upset when he lost, but he proved to be, legit, up and comer, potential future champion. But yeah, it was. I thought, for a free TV show, card was strong B plus. But the Felder versus Barboza fight made it worth it for me. I'll give you my thoughts. Check out my other video for the prelims on my thoughts about that. Again, do me a favor, click subscribe, share the video, spread the word. I am Robthemany. This is Broken Thoughts take on UFC Chicago. Stay tuned. Thank you so much.